Hi, I'm Kevin Roberts, and welcome once again to my show. Today we're going to be talking about the swipe right dilemma, dating apps and mental health. So, we're diving into this topic that's both thrilling and terrifying. Dating apps. Swipe culture has revolutionized how we meet people, but in a lot of us, it's costing us our mental health. I've talked to some experts recently and some coaching clients, and I get calls all the time from people who are addicted to dating apps. Today, we're not only going to be talking about the research that I've done, but also some tips to navigate the digital dating world without losing your sanity. So let's get right into it. So the first thing I want to ask is, do you or someone you're close to have a problem? I have developed a short quiz to test it out. So the quiz is called The Top 5 Signs You Have an Unhealthy Relationship with Dating Apps. Number 1, you swipe more than you socialize. You're spending hours scrolling profiles, but rarely meeting people in real life. The app is likely replacing genuine connection. Number 2, your mood depends on your matches. So feeling elated when you get likes, but then crushed when you're ignored, kind of means you're outsourcing your self-worth to the validation of strangers, people you don't really know. Number 3, you're stuck in endless messaging. Do conversations fizzle after weeks of texting back and forth? Avoiding real-life meetups can signal a fear of rejection or commitment, and maybe even signal an avoidant attachment style, which is increasingly common in today's world. Number 4, you obsess over your profile, constantly tweaking photos or bios to perfect your image. This performative stress mirrors what is often called social media anxiety. You may have a deep inner voice that tells you you're not good enough. Well, that inner voice will really mess with you on social media. Number 5, you feel drained by the dating apps, not excited. So if logging in leaves you cynical or exhausted, it's burnout, not dating that you're engaging with. So one fix that works for most people is to take a 30-day break. Mute notifications or simply try meeting people offline. Healthy dating, whether it's in person, on the apps, or whatever, it should energize you, not deplete you. Ask yourself this: am I using this app or is it using me? So if we take that point and we go a little deeper, the first and most important issue that can lead to problems is what I call the validation trap. And many people online who use dating apps suffer from this. They fall into it. We're going to talk about Sarah Mitchell. She's one of my adult coaching clients, and she's 45 years old, graphic designer, and she now lives in Austin, Texas. She used to live in Michigan. She's fresh out of a 15-year marriage, or she was a while ago, and her friend convinced her to try a dating app just for fun. At first, the matches flooded in, and she'd get responses like, "You're stunning. Let's grab coffee." And for a split second, Sarah felt, like a lot of us, a rush. But then came the late night texts of, "You up?" and requests for risque photos. And suddenly the confidence that she felt, the boost in her confidence, became more like a crash. I started working with Sarah as a coaching client a few years ago and didn't really deal with this kind of stuff, but watched to the end to figure out how my most recent interactions with her and her relationship to dating apps ended up. And by the way, before we go any further, if you've gained at least a little insight right now, please subscribe and like so I can get this information out to other people, because this is a huge problem. Online dating, for many of us, becomes a quest for external validation rather than genuine connection, because we just don't find it. Many users, especially after a breakup or during lonely periods, turn to apps hoping for likes, matches, and compliments to boost their self-esteem. The instant gratification of a swipe right match triggers a dopamine rush, similar to social media likes. Creates a temporary high, but this validation is fleeting. When conversations fizzle, matches ghost you out, or interactions turn superficial like requests for photos, there can be a huge crash that leaves people feeling worse than they did before. Psychologists often compare this cycle to gambling addiction. Each swipe is like a bet that's, well, maybe this time, keeping users hooked despite diminishing returns and losses in the example of gambling. The more matches you get, the more you crave the matches, and this can lead to compulsive checking, an emotional exhaustion. Worse, when validation dries up, self-doubt creeps in. Why am I not getting likes? Am I unattractive? So essentially, the trap lies in outsourcing your self-worth to strangers' approval, the approval of strangers. Healthy dating requires internal confidence first, knowing your value isn't determined by the algorithm or a "hey beautiful" message. Breaking free means setting boundaries. For example, limiting the amount of time you spend on the app per day. And you really got to stop seeking fulfillment online. As one therapist friend of mine puts it, if you're not happy single, no match will fix that. And that's really true. You may want to pause and take that in a little bit. No match is going to make you happy if you're not happy single. In spite of the lack of success, though, people keep at it. But that energy cannot be sustained, which is why today we have what really is a burnout epidemic, and it's of incredible magnitude. Now, the Pew Research Organization recently put out a study, and they found that 30% of U.S. adults have used dating apps. It's pretty consistent across a lot of the world in the past year, but burnout is real. So another one of my coaching clients, Jason, he's a 28-year-old teacher, and he was spending 2 to 3 hours a day swiping on Tinder. He described it as doom scrolling for love. He's pretty poetic. And he was endlessly evaluating profiles like resumes, as he put it, only to be ghosted after a "hey." So, he's an English teacher, and like I said, he's poetic, and he recently told me something that stuck with me. It's like applying for jobs where you're both the hiring manager and the rejected candidate. Make me pause for a second and sit with that. You're applying for jobs where you're the hiring manager and the rejected candidate. People like Jason, millions of them, develop dating app fatigue. Because the constant rejection, or even worse, the ghosting and non-replies, they damage self-worth. Dating apps can make anxiety disorders worse, and also they can be a catalyst to trigger anxiety in the first place. I used to do dating apps, and let me tell you, it was obsessive and anxiety producing for me. So, because this constant cycle of swiping and matching and then being ghosted on dating apps can lead or give way to frustration. And many users report feeling more lonely than they did before they started using the apps. The interaction is mostly superficial. A lot of us, we get this pressure to create the perfect profile, but over time, the emotional labor of doing this and vetting strangers and enduring rejection and maintaining optimism, it's overwhelming. Psychologists describe a lot of these symptoms as mirroring chronic stress, fatigue, cynicism, and even dating app avoidance. So to combat burnout, I highly recommend taking breaks, setting time limits, and prioritizing real-world interactions. As Jason put it, I'm not looking for love anymore, just my will to live. I tried to get him to come on the show, but he doesn't want to he doesn't want to go on camera. Maybe one of these days. So there's a paradox here. The very tool designed to solve loneliness often deepens it. We think that these apps give us the opportunity for happiness and connection, but for so many of us, they have the exact opposite effect. I'm a fan of a psychologist, Dana Wright, and she's got this thing called the burned haystack method, which I have strongly urged friends and colleagues and clients to use. It's given hope to a lot of people. So this burned haystack method is basically a strategy And she's a dating coach, Dana Wright, also trained as a psychologist. Instead of swiping on everyone, you set hyper-specific deal breakers. For Sarah, who I mentioned earlier, that meant the person must love indie films, hate cilantro, and not live with their ex. Her matches slowed to a trickle. But then eventually, she had more time for herself, and she met David, a museum curator who checked every box. I received a text from her just a few weeks ago, and things are still going well. They are taking a trip together at the end of July. Sarah's story shows that higher standards lead to fewer matches, less time spent, but also open up the potential for a person you're actually compatible with. So Sarah's text thanked me, and I replied to her with this question. What is the most important change that helped bring you to this wonderful new relationship? The reply came the next day. Sarah said, I stopped settling for good enough and held out for hell yes. And that's what I hope a lot of you will come away with this video, with that kind of mindset, valuing yourself. So Sarah's reply actually inspired me to do this episode on dating apps. By the way, please take a second right now to like and subscribe so that I can help more people come back from the brink of dating app insanity. So over the years of helping my coaching clients, I have developed a list of 10 tips to help people use dating apps in a healthy way. And those of you who have followed me for video game and screen addiction in general will recognize some of these. So here's my top 10 list for healthy online dating app use. Number 1, set clear intentions. So decide what you want. Is it casual dating, a relationship, or a friendship? And choose apps that align with your goals. Be careful and discriminating when you choose the apps that you're going to rely on. Number 2, a lot of you will recognize this, limit your screen time. Avoid this cycle of endless swiping. Set a daily limit. I recommend 20 minutes. That helps prevent burnout. Number 3, prioritize quality over quantity. Focus on a few meaningful conversations rather than mass matching. Number 4, move conversations off the app quickly. If there's a connection, transition to a video call or an in-person meetup within a week or so to avoid what has been called pen pal syndrome. If your match resists this, that is a powerful sign. By the way, dating apps are full of scammers. Resistance to a video call is a red flag, and a really big one. Number 5, don't take rejection personally. Ghosting and unmatching say more about the other person's mindset than your work. And that's one to really burn into your brain, because that, if you have that mindset, it really helps you relate to apps in a much healthier way. Number 6, protect your privacy. So avoid sharing personal details like your address or workplace too soon. Use the app's messaging system initially. Number 7, and this is a really important one, trust your gut. If a profile or conversation feels off, unmatch without any guilt. And so many of us suspend our gut instincts when we're using these apps. Don't do that. Number 8, take breaks when needed. If you feel drained, delete the app for a few weeks to mentally reset. I think taking a few days off every so often is incredibly healthy, and I highly recommend that. Number 9, you got to be really careful with this one, and we talked about it earlier in the video. Avoid using apps for validation. Self-worth shouldn't depend on matches. Engage in hobbies and offline socializing too. So many people get involved in dating apps and they stop doing the things that bring them satisfaction because they get so focused on these apps. Be really careful if you find yourself doing that. And finally, number 10, stay present in real life. Balance app use with real world connections. Make sure you're hanging out with your friends and family and people who are already important to you. And the best relationships often start offline. You really don't know a whole lot about a person until you actually meet them, by the way, as well. Here's a bonus. If an app makes you anxious more than excited, it's okay to quit. I give you my permission. So, dating apps aren't inherently good or bad. It's how we use them. For Sarah, they were a stepping stone to confidence. For Jason, a lesson in self worth. And what's the key? Swipe with intention. Protect your peace of mind. And remember, you're not a profile, you're a person. So, do you find yourself agreeing with what I've said or disagreeing? DM me your dating app horror stories or success tales, and the contact info is below. And if this resonated, please go ahead and hit subscribe, share it with your friends, and I really appreciate you watching.